This is part 2 of the Art of Seduction, where things get deeper and more intense. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, go check that out first. The link is in the description. If part 1 showed you the doors to seduction, part 2 is where you walk through them. By now, you've seen how silence, mystery, and emotional tension can pull people toward you. But the real game begins once they're already drawn in. Once they've stepped closer. That's when the real power begins. In this part, we go even deeper into how legendary seducers play with the mind, create emotional dependence, and make others addicted without them even realizing it. These aren't games. They're sharp, strategic weapons used by history's most dangerous and charming figures. Fast, elegant, and highly effective. This entire series is based on Robert Greene's book, The Art of Seduction, a book so powerful it's studied by CEOs, actors, and intelligence agencies, but feared by those who truly understand its impact. Now let's begin part 2, where attraction turns into addiction.
Chapter 15. Create Temptation. Seduction isn't about direct persuasion. It's about creating temptation so strong the other person can't resist. You don't ask them to want you. You build an emotional environment that pulls them in like gravity. This chapter teaches you to become what they already crave and place it just close enough to taste. What is temptation? Temptation is when desire conflicts with control. It happens when someone sees something they want, but feel they shouldn't have. The tension between yes and no becomes unbearable, and they eventually give in. Your job is to become that forbidden desire, the thing they keep thinking about, even when they try not to. How to create temptation. 1. Understand their weaknesses. Everyone has hidden desires: attention, escape, thrill, danger, beauty. Study your target and find out what excites them or what they secretly lack. 2. Be the answer. Become the person who represents what they're missing. If they're bored, be excitement. If they're controlled, be freedom. If they're praised too little, give admiration. 3. Make it just out of reach. Temptation grows when something feels close but not guaranteed. Show flashes of desire, then pull away. Let them wonder if they'll get more. 4. Surround it with emotion. Link your presence to feelings, warmth, thrill, longing, comfort. Make your absence feel cold. Make your closeness feel addictive. Historical example. Ninon de l'Enclos, a French courtesan in the 1600s, created temptation through mystery and control. She didn't chase men. She made them wait. She gave just enough affection to stir obsession, then disappeared. Her lovers were tempted not just by her looks, but by the fantasy of having something rare and unreachable. They fell not for what they had, but for what they almost had. Why it works? Temptation builds emotional pressure. When you represent what someone deeply wants and they feel like they can almost have it, they become obsessed. The mind starts to justify, imagine, and crave. Soon, they don't just want you, they feel like they need you. That's the power of controlled temptation. How to use this today? Flirt without full availability. Use eye contact, tone, and silence to suggest more than you say. Be present, then vanish. Let your absence create hunger. Talk about desires or fantasies indirectly. Let them imagine more. Make them feel like they're standing at the edge and you're the one thing pulling them over. Key lesson: seduction isn't about asking, it's about inviting craving. Create tension between desire and control. Make yourself the forbidden fruit, and they'll take the first bite willingly. Chapter 16. Keep them in suspense. What comes next? Once someone is tempted, don't let the excitement fade. Seduction dies when things become predictable. To keep desire alive, you must create suspense, the constant feeling that something more is coming, but they can't see it yet. Suspense keeps people emotionally hooked. It keeps their imagination racing. And imagination is the most powerful tool in seduction. Why suspense works. People quickly lose interest in what feels familiar. But if they're unsure what you'll do next, if they sense surprise, mystery, and emotional risk, they stay alert, engaged, and obsessed. Uncertainty stirs the mind. It makes them think about you when you're not around. That's how suspense creates emotional dependency. How to build suspense in seduction. 1. Break patterns. Don't always behave the same. Be warm one day, distant the next. Change your energy, your schedule, your tone. 2. Tease the future. Drop hints. Suggest possibilities. Say things like, "You have no idea what I'm planning," or "One day I'll surprise you, just wait." 3. Be unavailable at times. Make them wait for your attention. Let them miss you. The gap builds suspense and longing. 4. Create emotional cliffhangers. Cut off conversations at their peak. Leave them wondering what you meant, or what might have happened if you stayed. Historical example: Mata Hari. Mata Hari, the famous exotic dancer and spy, never gave full access to herself. Her costumes, her performances, her lifestyle, all were layered with hints and secrets. Men were fascinated not by what they saw, but by what they might discover next. Her suspense kept powerful men pursuing her long after logic told them to stop. The key is unfinished emotion. If you give someone everything, attention, emotion, intimacy, desire fades. But if you leave things incomplete, if you cut off connection at just the right moment, they'll crave closure. That craving becomes obsession. How to use this today? Don't reply to every message instantly. Leave stories half told. Use voice, silence, and timing to create emotional tension. Surprise them with something unexpected, then go quiet. The unknown is irresistible. Balance suspense with trust. Remember, suspense should feel exciting, not cruel. Too much confusion can push someone away, but just enough mystery. It keeps them leaning in, always waiting for what comes next. Key lesson: seduction thrives on mystery. When your next move is unclear, when emotions remain unfinished, desire deepens. Suspense isn't just drama, it's control through curiosity. And as long as they're curious, they won't walk away. Chapter 17. Use the demonic power of words to sow confusion. Words can seduce, mislead, and mesmerize. They can create illusions, stir fantasies, and lead people away from reason. In seduction, words are not just tools, they're weapons. Used right, they blur reality, break resistance, and sink deep into the mind. This chapter teaches how to use language as emotional magic. Why words are so powerful. Most people think they're logical, but in truth, they're ruled by emotion. And words, when used with rhythm, mystery, and suggestion, bypass the brain and go straight to the heart. You can confuse, charm, and hypnotize someone just with how you speak. Words become demonic when they cloud clarity and stir desire. Tactics to confuse and seduce with words. Number 1. Speak ambiguously. Use metaphors, hints, and double meanings. Let your target read between the lines. Ambiguity forces them to think harder, and the more they think, the more involved they become. Number 2. Use rhythm and repetition. Speak like poetry or song, smooth, slow, and rhythmic. This soothes defenses and makes your words feel dreamlike. Number 3. Ask deep, unsettling questions. Don't stick to small talk. Ask things like, have you ever felt like you're meant for something bigger? These questions create emotional shifts and inner confusion, opening doors for deeper connection. Number 4. Tell stories. Stories bypass logic and sneak into the imagination. Share tales of mystery, longing, risk, or transformation. Let them project themselves into it. Number 5. Contradict gently. Say something playful and then the opposite. This subtle contradiction keeps them wondering what you really mean, and that uncertainty seduces. Historical example: the Marquis de Sade. The Marquis de Sade was infamous not only for his acts, but for his words. His letters and stories led others into dark, confusing, emotional territory. He used language to strip away certainty, pushing his victims into moral and emotional chaos. He didn't just seduce the body, he seduced the mind by breaking boundaries through words. How to use this in real life? Avoid over-explaining. Let mystery build. Use emotional, suggestive language, not plain facts. Speak about dreams, fears, and the unknown. Let your tone rise and fall like music. Pause intentionally. Let silence add weight. The less clear you are, the more they think. The more they think, the more they feel. Why confusion works. When people are confused, they search for emotional anchors, and that's when they attach to you. They stop thinking logically. They follow feeling instead. Seduction isn't about clarity. It's about drawing someone into your emotional world where nothing is certain except how you make them feel. Key lesson: use your words not to explain, but to entangle. Confuse just enough to create mystery. Stir emotion, break logic, and let them lose themselves in your voice. The most powerful seduction starts with a sentence they can't forget.
Chapter 18. Pay attention to detail. In seduction, the smallest details carry the biggest impact. Your words, your tone, your clothes, your scent, your timing, each one leaves an impression, whether you notice it or not. This chapter reminds us everything matters, and the one who masters the little things controls the entire emotional atmosphere. Why details are so seductive. People may not remember everything you say, but they feel everything you do. A thoughtful compliment,
a glance at the right moment, a change in tone. These subtle moves speak louder than grand gestures. Details show that you're present, aware, and emotionally tuned in. And that awareness makes others feel special, seen, and understood. Examples of seductive details. 1. Personal attention. Notice something unique, the way they move, the color they wear, the rhythm of their voice. Comment on it softly. It tells them, "I see you." 2. Symbolic gifts. Not expensive, meaningful. A book they once mentioned, a song that reminds you of them. These small acts carry huge emotional weight. 3. Perfect timing. Saying the right thing at the exact right moment. A message when they're low, a compliment when they need it. Timing turns ordinary words into emotional power. 4. Environmental control. Lighting, music, smell, colors all shape the mood. Create a space that feels magnetic. Seduction is sensory. Historical example, Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol seduced with visual detail. He paid close attention to how he dressed, what he said, how he styled others. Every gesture was calculated to stir curiosity, stand out, and feel iconic. People were drawn to his world because every detail felt like art. He didn't just talk, he curated an experience. Why this works psychologically? When someone pays attention to detail, we feel valued. It tells us we're not just a number, we're noticed. That emotional intimacy creates a deep connection. Also, attention to detail signals confidence, control, and intentionality, all deeply seductive traits. How to use this today? Listen more than you speak, and remember small things they say. Be intentional with what you wear, how you speak, and when you show up. Leave behind subtle emotional fingerprints, a scent, a song, a phrase. Customize your attention. Make them feel like no one else matters. These aren't tricks, they're signals that you care, you notice, and you're unforgettable. Key lesson. In seduction, the smallest things are not small. They are emotional tools, quietly opening hearts, building connection, and deepening desire. Great seducers don't shout, they whisper through details. Master the art of subtlety, and they'll feel your presence, even when you're gone.
Chapter 19. Poeticize your presence. To truly captivate someone, you must become more than just a person. You must become a feeling, a symbol, a dream. This chapter teaches how to poeticize your presence, to turn your image into something romantic, larger than life, and unforgettable. Because when people see you as more than real, they desire you beyond logic. Echoes. What does it mean to poeticize your presence? It means transforming your personality and appearance into an emotional story. You're not just you anymore. You're mystery, beauty, danger, comfort, or inspiration. You make others associate you with emotions they can't explain, like a song they can't stop humming, a dream they can't forget. Echoes. How to do it. 1. Craft a signature look. Be visually distinct, something in your clothing, colors, scent, or styling that becomes your aura.
not loud, just recognizable. 2. Speak with rhythm and intensity. Let your words carry tone, feeling, and presence. Say less, but make it sound meaningful. 3. Live like a story. Share ideas, thoughts, or parts of your life that feel unusual, dramatic, or symbolic. Let them imagine you as someone who's not like the rest. 4. Be unpredictably deep. Show flashes of emotion, silence, or thoughtfulness, but not always. Keep them guessing who you really are. Echoes. Historical example. Lord Byron. Lord Byron, the Romantic poet, turned his life into a poem. He didn't just write poetry, he lived poetically. Dark clothes, mysterious travels, tragic love affairs, everything about him felt dramatic and emotional. Women didn't just fall for him, they fell for the idea of him. That's what poeticizing your presence does. It transforms you into emotion. Echoes. Why this works. Most people live in routine. They meet predictable, ordinary personalities every day. But when someone enters their life with mystery, emotion, and aesthetic, it awakens something deeper. You become a symbol of escape, passion, or inspiration, and that's incredibly seductive. Echoes. How to use this today. Dress in a way that expresses mood, not just trend. Speak in metaphors or emotional language. Make ordinary things sound dreamy. Share stories that hint at sadness, beauty, or resilience. Show layers, don't reveal everything too fast. Make your online presence, if any, reflect your emotional style. You're creating a living fantasy, but grounded in authenticity. Key lesson. When people stop seeing you as just another person and start seeing you as a symbol, a mood, a feeling, the attachment deepens. You're not just someone they talk to. You become someone they feel long after the conversation ends. That's the true art of poetic presence.
Chapter 20. Disarm through strategic withdrawal. Seduction isn't about constant presence. It's about strategic absence. This chapter reveals a powerful truth. Sometimes, pulling away is more seductive than staying close. When you withdraw at the right moment, you create mystery, raise doubt, and trigger emotional longing. The key is timing, not disappearing completely, but stepping back just enough to make them feel your absence. Why withdrawal works. When someone gets used to your presence, they may start taking it for granted. Desire begins to fade with overexposure. But when you suddenly become distant, emotionally or physically, it triggers anxiety, reflection, and obsession. They start asking, did I do something wrong? Do they still care? Where did they go? And just like that, their mind locks onto you. How to use strategic withdrawal. Withdraw after a high point, after a deep conversation, emotional moment, or spark. Pull away. Leave them with the feeling and the silence. Be less available. Take longer to reply. Cancel plans gently. Let them wonder what you're doing instead. Create emotional gaps. Be warm one day, cool the next. Let your attention become rare and valuable. disappear with purpose. Your absence shouldn't feel like rejection. It should feel mysterious, intentional, and a little painful. This makes your return feel like a reward. Historical example. Marilyn Monroe would often vanish from public view just when attention peaked. She created mystique by limiting her exposure. Never too much, never too long. Every appearance became a moment, and every disappearance deepened desire. She controlled her image not by showing more, but by knowing when to stop showing. What to avoid? Don't overdo it. Total withdrawal can feel cold or manipulative. Don't use silence as punishment. It should feel like distance, not rejection. Don't disappear too early. Build a connection first. Strategic withdrawal is powerful only when they already care. How to use this today? After deep emotional exchanges, go quiet for a bit. Let them miss your attention, and then return gently. Post less, message less, call less, without completely cutting off. Let your absence create space for their desire to grow. If you're always there, they won't chase. If you step away at the right moment, they'll crave your return. Key lesson. Seduction isn't constant contact, it's emotional rhythm. Presence, then absence. Warmth, then cool. Words, then silence. Strategic withdrawal stirs emotions they didn't know they had. When you return, they won't just be glad, they'll be hooked.
Chapter 21. Confuse Desire and Reality, the Perfect Illusion. Desire doesn't live in reality. It thrives in fantasy, in illusion, in what's imagined but not yet touched. This chapter teaches that to deepen seduction, you must blend reality with dream, so your target can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You don't just offer yourself. You offer a carefully crafted version, a mirror of their hidden desires. Why illusion matters? Reality can be boring, flawed, limited, but illusion is perfect. It fills in the blanks with beauty, mystery, and hope. When people fall in love, they often fall for the idea of someone, not the person themselves. So instead of proving who you are, let them create their own story about you, and guide that story without ever revealing too much. How to create the perfect illusion? 1. Mirror their fantasies. Subtly reflect their dreams, values, and unspoken desires. If they crave danger, be bold. If they crave peace, be calm. 2. Be mysterious. Say less. Reveal slowly. Let them imagine more than you show. 3. Create contrast. Be intense one moment, quiet the next. Show both light and shadow. This makes you emotionally complex, like a novel. 4. Create a dreamlike atmosphere. Use lighting, music, scent, stories. Seduction is multi-sensory. Your presence should feel like a break from the real world. Historical example. Sergei Diaghilev. Sergei Diaghilev, the famous ballet impresario, seduced artists and dancers with illusion. He didn't possess traditional looks or power, but he surrounded himself with beauty, mystery, and creative drama. He spoke like a poet, appeared at just the right moments, and made others feel part of a grand artistic dream. Through illusion, he became irresistible. Why this works psychologically? People project their inner needs onto others, especially when there's emotional space. If you're too real, too ordinary, their fantasy breaks. But if you're just vague enough, their imagination does all the work. And what they imagine, they cherish far more deeply than what they're given. How to use this today? Be emotionally unpredictable, yet familiar. Never explain yourself fully. Let your actions speak mysteriously. Show only parts of your life, not the whole. Use storytelling to frame your presence. Make everything feel meaningful. Make your environment reflect your inner mood. Candles, lighting, scent, silence. Let them feel like they've stepped into a movie, with you as the most magnetic character. Key lesson: the best seductions don't feel logical. They feel like a dream someone doesn't want to wake from. Blur the line between what's real and what's imagined. Don't give them the whole truth. Give them a beautiful version of it. And watch as they fall, not just for you, but for the illusion you've created.
Chapter 22. Isolate the victim. To fully seduce someone, you must pull them into your world, and that begins with isolation. Not physical kidnapping, but emotional, psychological separation from their everyday life, from friends, family, routines, distractions, until the only thing that feels real is you. Why isolation is powerful. In normal life, people have anchors, voices of reason, habits, responsibilities, comfort zones. These anchors protect them from emotional risks, like falling deeply under someone's spell. But if you slowly remove those anchors, they begin to lose balance. And in that vulnerable state, they reach out and cling to you. How to isolate without force. 1. Create a new emotional bubble. Make every interaction with you feel like a world apart, private, different, emotionally intense. Let them feel more alive when they're with you than anywhere else. 2. Occupy their thoughts. Be the first message in the morning, the last one before sleep. Make your presence feel constant, even when you're not there. 3. Question their existing world. Gently challenge their old relationships, routines, or beliefs. Make them feel misunderstood by others and deeply understood by you. 4. Be the escape. Present yourself as a refuge from their stress, pain, or boredom. They'll come back to you willingly, again and again. Historical example: Charles Manson. Dark but powerful, Charles Manson isolated his followers by slowly cutting them off from family and society. He used love, fear, and group identity to create a new reality where he was their center. While his intentions were criminal, his seductive method, emotional isolation, was disturbingly effective. Why this works psychologically. When people are isolated, they lose reference points. They become more emotionally sensitive, more suggestible, and more dependent. You become their new anchor.
their new source of approval, safety, meaning. And once that shift happens, they'll follow your lead. How to use this today, ethically. Build emotional depth privately, one-on-one moments. Don't compete with their friends. Make your presence feel deeper, not louder. Take them on new experiences, things they haven't done before. Create rituals, private jokes, nicknames, habits that are just between you two. They don't need to be alone. They just need to feel like no one gets them like you do. Warning: don't manipulate this. This power can turn dark fast. Use it to build intimacy, not control. The goal is connection, not isolation for domination. A true seducer makes the other person feel chosen, not trapped. Key lesson: isolation isn't about walls. It's about creating an emotional world that's stronger than the outside. When someone feels safest, most alive, and most seen in your presence, they'll naturally let go of the rest. And that's when seduction takes full hold.
Chapter 23. Give them space to fall. The pursuer is pursued. In seduction, chasing someone too hard can make them run. But if you step back at the right moment, they begin to chase you. This chapter reveals a timeless truth. To make someone fall deeper, you must let them feel the fall on their own, not by pressure, but by space. Why space is seductive? Too much attention makes people feel overwhelmed or trapped, but just enough distance makes them question, desire, and reflect. They start wondering, do I really have them? Why am I thinking about them this much? And slowly, they begin to pursue what once pursued them. The power of emotional reversal. Seduction isn't always a forward march. Sometimes you need to pause or even pull back so they step forward. This emotional reversal flips the roles. You become the prize. They become the seeker. And their desire grows not from what you say, but from what they fear losing. How to give space the right way? 1. Pull back after intimacy. After a moment of closeness, step away. Let the silence echo. Let the memory stir. 2. Create moments of absence. Skip a call. Delay a reply. Cancel a plan just once. Not to punish, but to create a gap they feel. 3. Show independence. Let them see that you have a life, a purpose, with or without them. Independence is seductive. It breeds respect and longing. 4. Don't explain everything. Let them wonder. Let them chase clarity. That curiosity pulls them in deeper. Historical example: Casanova. The legendary seducer understood this well. After seducing someone, he often disappeared without a word. Days later, he'd return, and they would be waiting, confused, emotional, hooked. He let them feel the ache. He let the silence do the work. And in that silence, desire matured. Why it works psychologically? When you pull back slightly, the other person begins to fill in the emotional space with thoughts, with memories, with need. They replay your words.
They miss your presence, and suddenly they're the ones chasing connection. This creates a deeper bond than constant closeness could. How to use this today? After a great moment, go quiet. Don't always reply instantly. Spend a weekend on your own. Let them miss you. Be emotionally open, then emotionally still. Let them feel the drop, the little bit of free fall that brings self-realization. Key lesson: seduction isn't about always doing more. Sometimes it's about doing less at the perfect time. Give them space to think, to feel, to fall. And they'll fall not just for you, but for how you make them feel when you're not even there.
Chapter 24. Use physical lures. Seduction isn't only emotional or psychological, it's deeply physical. This chapter explores how the body, the way you move, dress, touch, look, becomes a silent but powerful seduction tool. You don't need to say a word if your presence speaks desire. Why physical lures matter. Before a single sentence is spoken, people notice your appearance, energy, and body language. The way you walk, the way you hold eye contact, the scent you wear, the subtle brush of your hand. All of these create a physical aura, a sense of magnetism that can't be faked with words. The power of suggestion. The most effective physical lures don't scream, they whisper. You're not exposing everything. You're hinting, suggesting the imagination to do the rest. Think of how a slightly parted mouth, a tilted head, or a slow glance can say more than paragraphs. Seduction lives in the space between what's shown and what's held back. How to use physical lures effectively. 1. Master eye contact. Hold their gaze just a second too long. Let your eyes show emotion, interest, mischief, warmth. Eyes are intimate, powerful. They draw people in. 2. Dress with intention. Your clothing should highlight, not reveal. Choose textures, colors, or accessories that create contrast and curiosity. 3. Move slowly. Rushed movement feels anxious. Slow, deliberate motion shows confidence, calmness, and control. 4. Use touch wisely. A light, brief touch on the arm, brushing past them in a narrow space. Physical contact should feel accidental, but emotionally electric. 5. Smell like memory. Scent is directly linked to emotion. Find a fragrance that's soft but distinct, one that lingers in their mind long after you've gone. Historical example: Josephine Bonaparte. Josephine, Napoleon's wife, used physical presence to seduce everyone around her. She dressed with elegant subtlety, moved gracefully, and used her voice like silk. Her aura was so alluring, Napoleon wrote letters begging for her scent. She didn't rely on words. Her body spoke volumes. Why this works psychologically? The body communicates on a primal level. It bypasses logic and hits straight at emotion, desire, and memory. We fall for people not only for how they make us think,
but for how they make us feel physically in their presence. When your physical aura is powerful, they start associating you with pleasure. How to use this today? Practice walking with presence, like you own the room. Use your hands when speaking to guide their focus. Make your personal style feel intentional and expressive. Use pauses, proximity, and posture to create tension. Be the kind of presence that lingers, not because of noise, but because of atmosphere. Key lesson: the body is a silent language, one that speaks straight to desire. Master your physical presence, and you don't need to chase. They'll feel your magnetism before they even understand it. Part 3. The seductive phase. The victim loses control. Until now, you've prepared the ground, created allure, built emotional tension, drawn them closer. But seduction isn't complete until your target begins to lose control, emotionally, mentally, even physically. That's what Part 3 is all about. This phase is the turning point. Now you begin to take over, not forcefully, but subtly. You create a spiral of pleasure, confusion, excitement, and dependency. Their thoughts are no longer their own. They think of you when you're gone. They crave you without understanding why, and they begin to surrender. Chapter 25. Master the Art of the Bold Move. Sometimes seduction needs a jolt, a moment of courage that tips everything over the edge. This chapter is about knowing when and how to act boldly, not desperately, but decisively. Because hesitation can break tension, but a bold, well-timed move, it can seal the emotional trap. Why boldness is needed. You've built attraction, tension, desire, but if you never escalate, the other person may drift away. Seduction must feel like it's moving forward, not stuck in flirtation. A bold move creates emotional shock. It wakes them up. It makes them feel chosen, desired, even overwhelmed, but only if done at the right moment. What makes a move bold? 1. Physical risk. A first kiss, a sudden touch, stepping into their space with confidence. 2. Emotional exposure. Saying something raw or honest, revealing a vulnerability or desire. 3. Disrupting routine, a spontaneous trip, a surprise appearance, a sudden shift in tone or energy. Boldness isn't recklessness, it's controlled risk delivered with full belief in yourself. Historical example: Cleopatra. Cleopatra seduced Caesar not just with beauty, but boldness. She smuggled herself into his palace, rolled inside a carpet, literally delivered as a gift. That dramatic gesture shocked him, intrigued him, and instantly set her apart. Boldness made her unforgettable. When to use the bold move? Timing is everything. Use it when the other person is hesitating, unsure, or emotionally stirred. Use it after building suspense, when tension is high. Use it when you're at a tipping point and silence could kill the mood. If they're emotionally invested, a bold move feels like relief, like release. How to use this today? If you feel it's the right moment, don't wait. Act. Don't ask permission. Express confidence and let the emotion carry the moment. If physical, keep it slow and controlled. If verbal, speak directly, from emotion, not logic. A sudden kiss, a powerful statement, an intense gaze. These moments change everything. Key lesson: seduction needs rhythm, but also spikes. A bold move cuts through confusion and delivers emotional impact. Make your move with certainty, and you become unforgettable. Hesitate, and you lose the magic.
Seduction doesn't end after the bold move. In fact, that's when things get most dangerous. This chapter is a warning. Every emotional high has an after effect, a drop, a doubt, a backlash. And if you don't manage it wisely, all your progress can vanish in an instant. Why after effects matter? The moment after intimacy, vulnerability, or emotional climax is fragile. Your target might feel exposed, regret letting go, pull away out of fear, overthink everything. If you vanish, act cold, or become too available, they may snap out of the trance. This is where most seductions fail. How to handle the after effects. 1. Stay warm, but not clingy. Don't act like nothing happened. Acknowledge the connection, but don't smother. 2. Create comfort. Use calm energy, soft words, steady presence. Let them feel safe, not judged. 3. Rebuild mystery. After the closeness, step back slightly. Let the tension build again. Mystery restores the pool. 4. Avoid immediate demands. Don't ask, "What are we now?" or "Do you love me?" Keep things light, emotional, unpressured. Let the high settle into something emotionally addictive, not exhausting. Historical example: Madame de Pompadour, mistress of King Louis XV, never allowed intimacy to become routine. After each romantic moment, she gave the king space, then returned with charm and poise. She managed after effects masterfully, always keeping desire alive and regrets away. That's why she held power longer than any of his other lovers. How to use this today. If someone pulls back after an intense moment, don't panic. Let them breathe. Let them process. Then gently re-engage. Use humor, warmth, or surprise to lift the mood again. Never act needy. Act anchored. You become the calm in their storm, and that makes them feel emotionally safe and drawn to you again. Key lesson: seduction is not a straight line. Every high has a dip, but with awareness, you can guide the fall. Handle the after effects right, and they'll not only return to you, they'll crave that emotional roller coaster again and again.
Chapter 27. Mix pleasure with pain. Real seduction isn't always soft and sweet. It plays on deeper emotions, including fear, jealousy, tension, and longing. This chapter reveals a core truth. To make desire unforgettable, you must mix pleasure with pain. Because pure pleasure fades fast, but when mixed with emotional conflict, it becomes addictive. Why pain intensifies pleasure? The human mind craves contrast. We value joy more after sadness. We cling harder when we're afraid of losing. In seduction, if everything is too easy, too smooth, it starts to feel flat. But if you stir uncertainty, raise stakes, create emotional tension, then give relief, it creates a rush. And that emotional roller coaster is what keeps people hooked. How to mix pleasure with pain,
responsibly. 1. Create uncertainty. Be warm one day, distant the next. Keep your emotions just out of reach. Let them question where they stand. 2. Use jealousy carefully. Talk about others subtly. Let them feel they could lose you. This awakens possessiveness and deeper craving. 3. Give and withdraw attention. Shower them with closeness, then disappear for a bit. That absence makes them crave your return. 4. Introduce emotional conflict. Say things like, "I shouldn't feel this way about you," or "This is dangerous." It adds tension, forbidden energy, which turns ordinary attraction into obsession. Historical example, Pablo Picasso. Picasso seduced not just through charm, but emotional chaos. He would pull women into his passionate world, shower them with love, then confuse them with distance, moods, or other lovers. The drama made the pleasure more intense. They didn't just love him, they ached for him. He wasn't easy, but he was unforgettable. Caution: don't cause real harm. This technique is about emotional contrast, not cruelty. Never lie, manipulate, or emotionally damage someone. That destroys trust and turns seduction into trauma. Your goal is to heighten desire, not inflict pain. Used ethically, this creates depth and passion. Used selfishly, it becomes dangerous. How to use this today? Compliment someone deeply, then suddenly go quiet. Flirt, then pull away with a mysterious smile. Speak about emotions you shouldn't be feeling. Be slightly unpredictable, but still safe and kind. Let them feel on edge, unsure, yet completely drawn to you. Key lesson: the strongest desires live in the tension between yes and no, closeness and distance, pleasure and pain. Use contrast to make emotions more intense. Let them feel a little off balance, so they fall harder. Because when someone hurts just a little from wanting you, they'll never forget how good it feels when you come close again. Calm. Chapter 28. Give them the feeling of power. Seduction isn't domination, it's an illusion of control, letting the other person believe they're choosing, leading, deciding, while you quietly guide everything behind the scenes. This final chapter teaches one of the most subtle and powerful seduction tools. Make them feel in control, while you remain the real director. Why this works? People hate feeling manipulated. They resist when they sense someone is steering them too obviously. But when they believe it's their decision, their desire, they relax, they commit, they fall willingly. True seduction doesn't force, it invites. It makes people feel free, even as they're falling under your spell. How to give the feeling of power. 1. Let them lead small decisions. Ask their opinions. Let them plan the next meeting or choose the setting. These moments build comfort and emotional investment. 2. Use suggestion over commands. Instead of "let's go here," say, "Wouldn't it be amazing if we—" You plant the idea, but let them claim it. 3. Let them chase you. pull back slightly. Make them wonder. Let them initiate contact so they feel in control of the connection. 4. Make them feel irreplaceable. Subtly signal that they're special, chosen, that you're vulnerable only with them. This gives them emotional power while deepening their attachment. Historical example, Ninon de l'Enclos. Ninon de l'Enclos was a famed 17th-century courtesan who seduced with intelligence and grace. She made every man feel like he was leading the seduction, that she was slowly giving in to his charm. But in reality, she carefully choreographed every word, every pause, every smile. Her lovers felt powerful, but she was always in control. Why this works psychologically? People are far more committed to what they choose than what's forced upon them. When someone believes they're choosing you, not being seduced, they fall harder and more deeply because they trust their own decisions. That trust is the most powerful seduction of all. How to use this today? Ask, don't tell. Offer emotional space, but always remain present. Make them feel seen, respected, and in control of the pace. Be a mystery they want to solve, not a puzzle that frustrates them. Let them feel like you're the one who's lucky, even as they're falling deeper. Key lesson: seduction isn't about overpowering. It's about inviting surrender. And people surrender most deeply when they believe it was entirely their idea.
Now you know, seduction isn't about beauty. It's about psychology. The art of silence, the science of suggestion, the mastery of tension and emotional control. Throughout this video, you've seen how real seduction uses dark psychological triggers: uncertainty, desire, power, and fear of loss. Use this knowledge carefully, because once you start seeing these patterns in real life, you can't unsee them. They're everywhere: in politics, in advertising, in love, and even in friendship. People are always being seduced or doing the seducing. So now the question is, will you stay the victim or become the master? Target, if this opened your mind, like, share, and subscribe. Because next time, we go deeper into control, obsession, and the darkest corners of influence.